Welcome to the Cantina Chatter podcast. Hello and welcome to the Cantina Chatter podcast. My name is Victoria and I will be your host on this galactic adventure through Star Wars, toys and collectibles, pop culture, and randomness from the 80s and 90s. All right, so we're gearing up for Halloween over here at the Cantina. It's time of spooks and chills and thrills and all sorts of creepy stuff that goes bump in the night, especially on Halloween. At least that's how it is at my house. What about you, ToyShiz?
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I've been doing like spooky shiz all month, which is trying to get all the creepy toys together. So I'm stoked that we're talking about all these awesome old and newish type spooky toys.
Absolutely. These are the scariest toys ever made. The scariest toy lines that have been mass produced in various forms over the decades. So we've got a bit to talk about. And how's your October been going so far?
You know what? It's actually been nice. It's been a little hot for me. I like more like East Coast kind of cool Halloween, but I think it's starting to get there. I think by Halloween, by Friday, Saturday, we should be good.
Yeah, no, it has been a warm October. Thankfully, it's been a little bit better these past few days. You know, it started to cool down and feels a little more like October. Let's hope it stays that way.
Right? Yeah. Let's. I'm tired of the heat, and I'm ready for some cold, nice weather, relaxing toy collecting weather.
There you go, toy collecting weather. Yeah, no, so, you know, if this weren't the year of coronavirus, this would be like the best Halloween ever, like potentially. Like you've got daylight savings time, so an extra hour. Halloween's on a Saturday, and somebody told me it's a full moon as well.
Oh, very cool. It's like a trifecta of Halloween. Proportions.
yeah. So it's potential. It has the makings of the best Halloween ever. If only it weren't for this little pandemic that's going on right now.
Yeah, right. It's a terrible 2020 tease, is what it is. It's just one more thing to add to the list of this awful year.
Yeah. But so let's get started. We have a little bit of a list that you and I put together about some of these pretty awful Halloween or, just general toys that are pretty creepy and pretty scary. There's been a few of those over the years, and sometimes they're where you least expect them to appear. So let's go ahead and look at the first item that we have here on our list.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about the clapping monkey, aka the Jolly Chimp.
See, that's a good one to start off on. We're immediately going terrifying with this one. That thing, we were kind of talking earlier, but I found one at a thrift store years ago. And the even more creepy thing is that the batteries had eroded so bad that all the corrosiveness had kind of leaked out all over the bottom of it. Like the front is good. You turn around and it just looks like nightmare fuel all the way. Oh, yeah, that's a terrible toy. Who made that toy goes, the kids will like this one.
It was manufactured by a Japanese company, Daishin CK. They manufactured it during the 50s to the 70s under the name Musical Jolly Chimp.
That's the perfect name for it.
Yeah. I mean, this thing just looks evil. I mean, you look at its face, those eyes, they just look like they're piercing your soul.
And I don't know if you've ever played one. The lips, like, kind of fold back. Like you can kind of purse them together, with your hand or something, like to hide the teeth. But it's creepy the way they go back and the eyes. And,
yep. Oh yeah, my brother had one of these, and yeah, no, thanks, I'm good. I'm good. Let's stay
Well,
away from that.
it reminds me of that movie Monkey Shines with the VHS. I want to say DVD, VHS cover, and I remember going to the rental store, and it's fun to scare yourself. You always look at it, but yeah, that was like the mascot for that
Yeah,
dang.
yeah, that's how scary it is. That's how scary it is. So,
Yeah,
we'll leave the clapping monkey at the thrift store or at the flea market or wherever we come across them. Because yeah, no, no.
it's always haunted. You know it's going to be haunted. There's not one of those out there that's not in some way possessed.
Exactly. So did you ever have a Teddy Ruxpin?
I didn't have one. Best friend, down the street had it. Had all the tapes for it. Wasn't into it. Wasn't my thing. Probably because that's another scary as heck doll. I remember that. I didn't like the commercial. He'd come alive. The kid would put the little cassette and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm awake," and I'm like, "That's terrifying. Come on, and that thing's gonna read you to sleep. Come on." No.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had one of these.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it was. Maybe like 87, something like that. I was really, really
Yeah, that
little. I
sounds
had
about right.
one. And yeah, I remember like you had, you'd open it had Velcro on the back of his clothes and you'd flip that up and you could access, where the tape went in. And, he'd blink.
Yeah.
He'd tell you like things. And hopefully anything he would say was confined to whatever program he had, and there wasn't anything he had learned on his own or was being possessed by any kind of, malevolent spirit to explain to me. I hope it was all good stuff.
Yeah, he didn't have that Furby tech at the time. That was just
No.
1980s magic. How that thing came to life.
There you go. 1980s magic. You know what? We went to the mall one night and they actually had, this is no joke. I don't know if this was a thing, like, or if it was something that would go on tour or what, but at the mall they had like he must have been at least like 15-foot tall Teddy Ruxpin. And
Oh.
yeah, and there had to have been like somebody inside it or somebody nearby that was controlling it, but it would do the exact same things. It would blink, it would open its mouth, it would say, "Hey, what's your name?" And then you would tell it its name, and then it would repeat it to you. It'd say, "Oh, hi, so and so, how are you doing?" And it was, yeah, no.
Oh my God, that was like their marketing thing. Like, this is a great idea. We'll get all the kids
Yeah.
behind this talking, terrifying doll.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what was up with that, but it was something.
Yeah.
It was something. And that kind of reminds me a little bit. So this is something that's not on our spreadsheet, but I'm sure you've seen robotic type singing animals at certain places. And it was actually pretty popular in the 80s and early 90s. There was this band, the Rockafire Explosion, which were made by a company out of Florida that would manufacture these for places such as Showbiz Pizza. We didn't have Showbiz Pizza where I grew up in my area of Texas, but we had Showtime Pizza, which was the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
And it was basically like Chuck E. Cheese, but they had this assortment of like singing creatures and animals that were like on stage, and they were all programmed to sing like their own versions of like classic hits.
That is, I know. See, now and like looking it up, I know what you're talking about. I had no idea about that name, but that is terrifying. It looks like version 1 of like Chuck E. Cheese. Before they finally were like, "Oh, let's make this not horrifying for children."
Yeah. I remember seeing the commercial, and I could still see it exactly in my head the way that it was. But I remember begging my parents, my siblings, "Please take us there. Please take us there. We really want to see these things." And we had to go out of town a little bit to get there, and finally we got to see him, and it was like, what's going on here? This is kind of scary.
You know what? I think now that I'm thinking about it, what was it like? I think 2 years ago at Comic-Con, they had a Deadpool 2 animatronic thing, and they had old animatronics for the bear,
Billy Bob,
and one other character. Yeah. And they had that at Comic-Con over by the Hasbro booth. I remember that. So it's like repurposed like old animatronics with a Deadpool animatronic, and they had Dolly Parton singing.
Yeah, it's something like yeah, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
So I think a company, I don't remember who it was, made one of these Billy Bob toys a couple years ago. It was like a replica. It was like licensed and everything.
Ugh.
Yeah, but it was very expensive. It was like $200 or something insane. So
Oh, good. I hope
yeah,
it failed and no one bought it because it's terrifying. No.
yeah. Have you ever seen those bears that sit outside of what is it, Rocky Mountain Chocolate or
Oh yeah, yeah. The chocolate store like at a mall or a open air mall or something like that.
yeah, and they have those giant bears that just sit outside.
Yeah, the ones that everybody hugs and like it's just unleashed to the environments.
What's up with those?
That's that I mean that'd be funny if it was like these old the bear thing that you're like an animatronic bear, but
Oh no,
that I could deal with. I could deal with a non terrifying looking bear, but some of them, because they're left out all the time, they start to rot.
yeah, I've seen those photos.
Yeah.
Especially these animatronics are just like falling apart, and yeah, they look 10 times worse if you can believe that or not.
You can see them without their like the faces. They just the metal machinery underneath. That's terrifying.
Yep, totally. So this is probably a classic. Everybody's seen them. The dummies that you can puppeteer with your hand. Very classic style dummy.
Oh yeah, the ventriloquists like.
Exactly the type that a ventriloquist would use. And there was actually, I'm sure you remember it, there was a Goosebumps book in the 90s. It was Night of the Living Dummy.
That was another one of those covers that was just terrifying. It was like number 7, right? It was like
something like
I remember that. It's a red cover and it was Slappy's face and
oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time though, those books. I really enjoyed those books back then.
Oh yeah.
Say cheese and die.
Yeah. I liked Welcome to Heck House. Was that the first one?
Welcome to Dead House.
Dead House. Yeah.
And
Say Cheese and Die had a great cover to it. It was like
did.
the photo of all the barbecuing skeletons and stuff. Yeah. And then of course Real Scary Stories. That was like those were books back then. Especially for kids.
Yeah, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I just watched the movie a couple nights ago. I hadn't seen it yet.
Was it good? I haven't seen it.
It was all right.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Right.
That's the general consensus.
Yeah, it was all right. But the books, like, just thinking back, there's a documentary too about them on Amazon Prime right now. But
yeah, I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah. I remember seeing the books when I was in elementary. They had them in the libraries, and you kind of had to do double takes. Like, what? My library has these?
Yeah.
And my sister and I would rent them out on library day from the school, and we would like read them, and the artwork in there was just crazy.
Yeah, those are my go-tos. That and Where's Waldo. Always pulled the had to go for him.
Yeah, there was another series too. It's called The Scariest Stories You've Ever Heard, and had a really creepy looking dude on the cover.
Yeah,
didn't have the same level of artwork, but it had the stories, that were pretty creepy. And then like the cover, like there's like 3 of them, I think, and each one has this like really ugly looking dude like on the cover of each of them. Like especially, I think it was part 2. It was like the scariest looking one.
Ugh. Scariest. Oh yeah, I remember those covers. Okay, it's kind of like Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Or the other little guests that they have in those old EC comics. Yeah. See, isn't it fun reminiscing? Everyone at home's like, "What?" And then when you go look, you'll know.
Yeah, you'll know. Go check the stuff out. Let's talk about Baby Alive.
Ugh. All right.
My sister had one of these. She got it for Christmas morning. She wanted this really bad. I remember like she was begging like Santa Claus to bring her this for Christmas one year. Baby Alive, Baby Alive. She wanted to take care of a little baby. So, Christmas comes, Santa brings her a Baby Alive. I was almost afraid that this thing kind of was alive when it actually showed up at the house.
Yeah, even the old commercials for those things were, I don't. It's funny. Little girls' obsessions with like, oh, I want to take care of a baby, and then when they have it, they're like, man, I'm over this. It's like a 2-second wonder, but yeah, that's the one you feed it. It eats the food and poops it out. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Blinks, does all that.
blinks.
Ugh.
It has like food, like that.
Yeah.
I remember the spoon had like some sort of a contraption in it where you would touch it up to its lips and it would just like recline back into the spoon to make it look like she ate it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And the little girl in the commercial's like, look, she's eating it. I'm like, no. Stop pretending. That doll did not eat anything. No.
Yeah, their hair was all messy, and yeah, it did use the potty, and yeah, it was. Oh man.
The funny thing about all those dolls, I like in kind of going off of Baby Alive. Have you seen the Gotta Go Flamingo, the newest Christmas hit for 2020, guaranteed?
Oh gosh, let me look at this here. See what this.
Okay. For
commercial.
those, while you do that, for those listening, it's by.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's an actual flamingo that sits on a toilet, and when you feed it like this, like that kinetic sand, and you fill the toilet with water. It poops the sand, but then kids can just like you just kind of dump. Once it hits air again, it becomes sand. It's like magic. But yeah, you just keep feeding it. It poops.
Wow.
It'll sing.
I cannot believe this commercial.
Yeah.
This is something else. This is there's no more shame these days.
No, not at all. But I mean, I got to play with one, not just recently, but Moose. It was like Moose Toys, I think, and it's hilarious. Like it's for kids. Like kids will play with it, but like as an adult, you look at this and you're just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, and it has a catchy tune that stays in your head. It's a terrifying toy all around. So.
Yeah. No, it looks interesting. It looks interesting. It's wow. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you wonder, like, hey, I could have come up with something this insane, and I could have made some money. But
yeah, exactly.
yeah. The first thing I gotta admit, the first thing that doesn't cross my mind is a flamingo that sits on a toilet and poops out sand. So
yeah. Also,
while singing a song.
You gotta think about these things and write them down. When you do, obviously, this came from somewhere.
You gotta dream. You gotta hit the pipe a little bit,
Whoever came up with this, I have to credit them, though. I mean, this will be a toy that I feel like I'll remember for a very long time. Like, you remember that flamingo from like 8 years ago? Oh, yeah, the one that like ate sand and pooped it. It's like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it'll be something along the lines of Baby Alive or Street Sharks.
Yeah. Now, Street Sharks, those were fun and terrifying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I never owned a Street Shark, but I fondly remember the commercial on TV back in the day. And I remember seeing them in stores, and I always wanted one. I always hoped that I would wake up, for a birthday or Christmas, and I'd have a Street Shark, but I never had a Street Shark.
You're the one that, remember we talked about this a long time ago. You're the one that told me about that Vin Diesel Toy Fair commercial. That's terrifying.
He's so good.
In and of itself, right there.
It is.
Watching Vin Diesel try to sell you on anything other than the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah, and he's all into it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like taking it so seriously. He's like all in character with these Street Sharks. It's like, wow.
Yeah, he's like, he gets like the whale shark one. He's like, oh yeah, he's got muscles and he's here to slam you or slamoo. That was what it was. Yeah. I was like, oh my god, this is a marketing genius right here.
It is, and he has like a Jurassic Park dinosaur, and he like goes to town on it.
I had a couple. That was around like the Ninja Turtle craze where they were like, let's just, make anamorphic everything.
It kind of seems like the kind of thing that I wouldn't be shocked if like a franchise came out of it, like a movie, and then, toys.
No, I think the world is ready again for the Street Sharks.
I think so. Why not? I mean, we've had all kinds of crazy things this year. What Street Sharks are totally believable.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they're remaking everything else. Why not?
Yeah. Just as believable, in fact, as Battle Trolls.
Yeah, I remember those. That was another thing. Not only were trolls terrifying, but then they were like, let's turn them into action figures
Yeah.
and give them muscles and projectiles and swords and all that kind of stuff. So,
Oh,
yeah.
man. Yeah, these were from, I think, 92, 93. And yeah, they were basically like trying to cater to the boys market. Because, back around that time, you had a lot of like strong action figure toy lines that were going on. Kenner was still in its heyday, manufacturing all kinds of cool stuff. And,
Yeah.
I don't know that there were a lot of boys that were buying just regular trolls. I know there were like treasure trolls. Remember they had like the gems in their bellies?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are big. I had one of those with purple hair. So I guess Trolls as a toy line began in 1959. That's how long these things have been around. And yeah, one day somebody said, "Hey, let's cater to the boys' market. Let's try and offer them Battle Trolls." And some of these are insane. I only had one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I had this one. He's like an orange troll with like camo pants and like a bandolier and a bandana and. But there's all kinds, and they're all really, really creepy, really crazy. There's like a football player one. There's one that has like a robotic arm and a robotic leg.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at him right now. That's the Trollminator. Of course.
The Trollminator. There's one that's like he's completely a robot. Did you see that one? Oh my god.
He's all silver, right? That's the Trollbot.
Trollbot. Oh, what's this other one?
They didn't really get like original with these names.
Not
they had
really.
Roadhog Troll. They were supposed to expand on it. They had a Xenomorph one and a Joker one planned, I guess, that they never did.
Oh wow.
But yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah, these are something else. And I've told people about these before, like, when we're talking about toys and
yeah.
Like, what? Like, I don't remember that. I'm like, you're tripping. You're making this up. No, they were for real. You could actually go online and see pictures of them. Like, they were a real thing.
It's funny, like, thinking back now, like, everything that, nowadays you go, oh, man, I can't believe they're making that or making that. And it's like, to go back and look at, like, olden times, all the way back to the 80s, 80s, 90s. It's like, yeah, no, we had just about as much weird stuff as they do now, maybe even in more so, but in a great way.
True.
These were Hasbro. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
That's like their old little logo. That's crazy.
Wow.
See, it's fun. It's fun reminiscing. 1992. Dang.
Yeah.
That packaging looks so much older than 1992.
It does, doesn't it? It looks like early 80s.
Yeah.
Sergeant Troll. That's the one that I had. Sergeant Troll.
Sergeant Troll.
Oh my goodness.
That TD touchdown troll.
Yeah, like the football one. Yeah,
that's funny.
I'm not gonna lie. I'd love to have a little shelf like with each and every one of these on it.
Yeah.
And one thing that I remember is that these were really pliable. Like the arms were like kind of like, I think they must have been like hollow, like air inside them because you could like really like bend them.
Yeah, I remember. Like it's funny you say it, like I'm thinking about them now. They were like Playmates, like Godzilla type, molded one. God, what do you call that? Yeah, I know, very much that PVC, but like hollow.
Yeah. Wow, there's a Cyclops one too with one eye.
I'm looking at that right now. That's Cyclops Troll. Oh, that's original.
Yeah, they. Some of these are pretty strangely named. There's like a Frankenstein's monster one too, Frankentroll.
It's funny, the troll, the Cyclops troll, looks like he has like a Swamp Thing weapon. It's called the limb grabbing log snare.
Which one is that?
The Cyclops troll in the packaging, he has like a very reminiscent the Kenner Swamp Thing weapon. That's actually kind of interesting.
Let's see. Oh, you know what? I think that is the same weapon.
That's weird.
The one that came with like the really light green like Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder how many of these other accessories that came with these figures were reuse.
Right. Well, it says big haired dudes with bad attitude. So
there you go.
That
says it all right there.
They got my money right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
It's actually a pretty cool concept. I know it's really ridiculous and over the top, but like I said, not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind having a set of those.
That's like something I would see like nowadays, like Super 7 or like even to the extent of like maybe NECA, would tackle like bring those back or something like that.
Yeah, I know, huh? So something that's not a troll, but's kind of, within that realm of not being human either. You said you wanted to talk E.T. Let's talk E.T.
Oh, terrifying movie. Never liked that movie. It's funny, like when I talk about it, everyone's like, "What? It's like my favorite." I'm like, no, the opening scene where whatever he is, it's like, it's like running from those humans.
Uh-huh.
It's the sounds are terrifying, and then when he meets Elliot, like in the corn, or the field or whatever, that scared the heck out of me as a kid.
Yeah, I hear you. That it does end. It does open up kind of eerie. It's like, the music's spooky, and it's out in the dark, and there's all these cars looking for something. What are they looking for? There's dogs, and it's like poor E.T. With his long brown skinny armed hands and his long neck, and he ain't winning any beauty pageants anytime soon.
No, especially when he's like dying, he turns white. Like, that's not cool. It's like as a kid, you're watching this, you're like, what is this? It's nightmare fuel.
Darn it, Spielberg. Yeah.
But yeah, you watch it now, you're like, nah, that was actually a pretty cool movie, but not when you're a kid. Oh, God.
Yeah, and a lot of movies were like that back in the day, just like, just the 80s, and, just had a bunch of weird, like, like the Goonies had some weird stuff in it too.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like, I mean, like, was it a sloth? Yeah, when he shows up, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Harry and the Hendersons, I was always afraid of that.
God, I love that movie though.
I do too.
Like just the cover. It's funny, every time I think about a movie, I immediately think of like VHS covers or slip covers and stuff like that. And was it John Lithgow and the big dude that played? I think if I'm not mistaken, the guy who played Harry also played the alien in the original Alien, I think, or something like that. It's like a weird fact. If that's true, that's a weird fact that I know for whatever reason. But I think he tackled like all those movies back then.
Do you remember the TV show Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, with Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was like. I wonder if he ever gets asked about that anymore. Everyone's always like Hellboy,
right?
Or Sons of Anarchy. But if I ever talk to him, I'm gonna be like, let's talk about Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, that. I remember my mom was really into that show, and I would watch it with her. I don't remember like what it was about or anything, but I remember what the Beast looked like. That's for sure.
He kind of looked like David Bowie as a beast, right? I'm like, I need to look it up before.
I guess I can kind of see that.
But that's like in my mind's eye. That's what I'm like, what, like.
Yeah, he looked like a lion or something. Yeah, but no, creepy.
Yeah, it's perfect for the Halloween episode.
Perfect for a Halloween costume if you could find something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so around that time that we're talking like early 90s, there was also Swamp Thing, Kenner's Swamp Thing toy line. And, we've talked about this one before because it's kind of a lesser known toy line, but it's actually a really good one. They made a lot of really cool stuff for Swamp Thing.
Yeah. The bad guy. There were so many Swamp Things. There was two other like allies of Swamp Thing, but the villains really got some good toys and creepy toys,
Yeah, that's I mean, Swamp Thing in and of himself is Swamp Thing. So he's not going to be George Clooney or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So he was pretty darn creepy, and he came in a variety of looks. There was like camouflage Swamp Thing. There was like one that was made out of like cactus parts.
Yeah, and he pushed the button, he kind of fell apart like one of those old like dolls. I don't know, whatever you call those things. You push up a little thing, they all kind of fall down.
Yeah,
all connected by string or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There was glow in the bio glow swamp thing, glowed in the dark. Yeah, it's all kinds. And but like you're saying, the villains were really like even scarier than Swamp Thing, if you can believe that. So we had like Anton,
Yeah.
Arcane, Dr. Demo, Weed Killer, and Skin Man. Skin Man, I think, was kind of maybe even the scariest.
Yeah, he was like a bat, right? Or something like that. Or
I don't know
whatever you
what
want
he
to call that
is.
thing.
He looks like
Yeah.
a. I mean, that's before you even put the bat on his head. Like before that, he's just looked like a demon or something.
Yeah. The Unmen. I'm looking at the package of a Fang Bat biomask. Yeah. I still have all those too. I kind of put them together over the years.
Yeah, so good.
And then the was it the chamber playset? That was another good thing. You like turn, it's like kind of like the Beetlejuice coffin where you put a figure in and ooh, magic swaps out, but
Yeah.
you put a figure and you turn it into like a praying mantis, like
Oh
it's
man.
it's like The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, this is a transducer is what it's called.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
It had like goo in it too. It looked like you flipped the little switch and the goo would go into like it looks like a monster movie. You know what I mean? Flipping the diodes and all that kind of stuff and everything's
Yeah.
bubbling. So
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel right there.
yeah.
Somebody turns into a giant bug.
Looking at like all the Swamp Things, I mean, you could technically say like, there's like Swamp Thing, and then it'd be like evil Swamp Thing, or one of the unmen type Swamp Thing, because he had such distinct looks, and there were so many of them. But the one where he's supposed to be like more tree, but he kind of looks like skeletal sinew and stuff like that. Like, yeah, those were fun. Definitely fun toys.
Yeah, definitely an underrated toy line, I would say.
Yeah. Well, apparently, he was supposed to be in the superheroes Kenner line, and then something came up like, oh, let's do a cartoon, and that's why he got his own. Something like that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that this was a cartoon until like a few years back. Like I always thought as a kid that these toys are based off the live action TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I knew that a lot of these characters, like the villains, were not obviously in the show like this, like looking like that. So, but I just thought, oh, it's just it's the toys. They do whatever they want with the toys, right? But I always thought that it was based off that series.
Yeah, I think I knew about the show. I didn't care for the show. The show is kind of hard to watch, even by today's standards. But I think I was more under the impression that it was comic book related, or who was on? Like I think it was Alan. Was it Alan Moore at the time, or somebody was writing it? And so I just remember the artwork kind of reminded me of, oh, that's that comic book Swamp Thing. You know what I mean? But like you said, yeah, it wasn't until later I was like, oh, it was a cartoon.
Yep. Let's see. Another thing from that era. So Polly Pocket, Polly Pocket was was a big thing for little girls. I remember the commercials. Polly Pocket's so small you can take her anywhere, and it's basically like a play set with a tiny. These are probably like half an inch figures or so. They're itty bitty, and they close up. You open them up. You can play with the figure. It's like a little environment, little play set. I guess along the way, somebody said, hey, boys need their own version of Polly Pocket. So they came out with Mighty Max.
Yeah, Mighty Max was amazing. I was in a Mighty Max for quite some time. I remember that as a kid. They didn't do too many of them. But the skull, the skull, the alien, ice face, whatever it was. Yeah, those were cool.
Yeah, so it looks like these are done by Mattel. And this is something I wish they would bring back because they're cool, but they're also really expensive. Like if you go to eBay and you look at like a package sample, they're like $100 in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. The skull was a good one. That one had like your classic like horror film elements. It had like Frankenstein's monster. It had a mad scientist. It had like a dungeon. It's the name, Skull Dungeon. That was a really good one. I know I had that one, and that was a fun set.
I thought it was cool the way that they were designed, the accessories or the monsters or whatever within made up like the face or like the eyeball, the tongue,
Yeah.
for like the outer shell casing for the thing. So, and then you had the classic embroidery always on top of the monster's head or something like that. The shark, that was a cool one. The shark one had like blood and stuff on it. I'm looking at the photos. Yeah, the shark and the spider. I remember I had that one.
Yeah, there's some really crazy ones, and they look really cool from the outside too. There's like a dinosaur, like a triceratops.
Yeah.
There's like a snake. I had this other one called Wolf Ship, and I guess it was like an alien spaceship sort of thing.
Oh yeah, wasn't it like black and red? Or am I thinking of the volcano playset?
This one was gray on the outside.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like gray.
Oh, okay. I see it right now. Yeah, yeah. It has two red eyes and stuff. That's cool. The teeth.
Yeah. Had like a couple alien figurines, and I had those two. And I remember at the time, I think it was McDonald's. They also did like a toy promotion where they had like even smaller like Mighty Max sets. That you could
Yeah,
get.
yeah. I remember those. Yep. McDonald's back in the day, they used to do stuff all the time,
Oh man,
especially like the Power Ranger ones. They had some good Power Ranger toys, but
the Halloween
know,
buckets.
yeah, the buckets and the Halloween chicken McNuggets. Those are the costumes.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's we got to touch on those. I mean, those Happy Meal toys. I think McDonald's has historically always had some of the best.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing that they used to do back in the day was they'd bring back the chicken nuggets every now and then, and they'd always have a different theme. And one of the themes that they did was Halloween. So you had your nugget, and you had little pieces that you could use to put them together. I think there was like a mummy, there was Dracula, there were several others, but they were all based around Halloween.
Yeah, they were. Like the commercials were fun, the buckets, like you said, like the Frankenstein Dracula. They had like it was the McNugget. They had a little base, they had, like the costume, and then they had like a head, and you could swap them out. You know what I mean? Like put the ghost with this, or Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was quite a few of them. That became a thing after a while.
Yeah, there were quite a few, and the buckets too. They it was a tradition every year. They would bring the buckets back, and they'd be slightly different than the year before. And those are fun. I always enjoyed getting, you'd get your Happy Meal and your food would come inside the bucket, which was like, come on, that's too cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know when they stopped doing that, but they haven't done those for a long time.
I remember, I think it was Carl's Jr. It wasn't McDonald's, it was Carl's. They had Ghostbuster buckets, and I was like ravenous for I gotta look those up. I think I still have it. But when you were a kid, the buckets were like, if you didn't have one, you were not cool.
You were not cool. If you were not trick or treating with your McDonald's pail for Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was Carl's Jr. and it was Slimer and then the other one had like a couple like they used to have like the cutout art, generic ghosts and stuff like that. Those were on the buckets too. So
it sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, they had Halloween safety tips on the side. It was great.
Don't talk to strangers. Don't take candy from strangers. Wait, what? This is Halloween, isn't it?
Exactly. In 2020, don't take candy from strangers.
Don't take candy from anybody, no. Another creepy item that was very popular back then. I think they still make them, or at least they did a few years back when Toys R Us was still in business. But creepy crawlers.
Those were my brother had the oven, and that was his thing. But every once in a while, he'd be like, "Hey, you want to make one?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's make something creepy."
Yeah, I never had creepy crawlers, but I had Dr. Dreadful, and that must have been like somebody else's like knockoff of creepy crawlers.
Yeah, the Dr. Dreadful, that was. Didn't they like keep re-releasing it, but they made it even more gross, like after
probably
like with each iteration, something like that. Yeah,
probably. I had the original one, and yeah, Dr. Dreadful Food Lab. It was by Tycho. Whatever happened to Tycho, by the way?
I don't know. That's one of those old type of I wonder, Well, I guess
Yeah.
we're here. We can look it up. Tycho. Who bought Tycho? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I still to this day remember what the monster skin tastes like. It was
Oh,
like it kind of tasted like a Monster Energy drink, if you can believe that. It did, like, it was like, so one of the things you could make was monster skin, and it would come out like with this weird like texture, almost like mozzarella cheese, but like more starchy or something.
oh yeah.
And then they had like a little, like a skull, like a green skull that you could make brains in.
Hmm.
That one was the worst tasting one. I remember doing the brains once, and I was like, I'm not gonna do brains anymore. And then it had like these little trays where you can make like gelatin, like shaped like creatures and monsters and stuff.
Lovely.
Those ones were okay. I think the skin was probably the best one.
It's fun. Yeah, and I mean, they kind of do that these days, but that was just classic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is I kind of wonder, like, you know, am I gonna one day have like some sort of like medical issue because of this Dr. Dreadful food that I ingested?
Yeah, right. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. But yeah, it was basically like a boy's version of an easy bake oven sort of thing.
The fact that they would let kids kind of mess with like a hot oven, technically, in the hot metal plates, and
Yeah.
I remember my brother burning himself. I remember burning myself, pulling him out too early. It's always like, take the tray out and then wait 2 seconds. You're like, no, I want to pull this molten lava gummy kind of thing out now.
Yeah. I want to eat it. I want to
Patience.
eat it already. Give it to me.
Yeah, there's no patience for this. I'm a kid.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, thinking back, we're obviously quite heavily in this era of late 80s, early 90s, because that's what we have really fond memories of, so when we grew up. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, obviously a huge toy line. We've talked about them here and there. Some of those villains were pretty scary, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were so well designed and sculpted that, with the faces, the tongues hanging out. The one that I immediately, always think of is like Wingnut and Screw Loose, like the bat and his little mosquito sidekick.
Uh-huh.
Even later on, like with the turtles with their mouths open, tongues hanging out, and they always had such interesting designs to them. Remember the mosquito guy, that he was like a vehicle, basically. He had a chair. The bad guys had one. The good guys had one.
Oh yeah.
I think it was his name. But yeah, there were so many parts, and the wings and everything else. Like,
Yep.
those were like what you got for back in the day for like 10, 15, $20 is amazing.
I know. Muckman was pretty darn scary.
Yeah. He had that thing. You could put the slime through his head. He had the eyeball Joe Eyeball that would sit in the trash can on his back.
Just along for the ride.
Mutagen Man, he was one that freaked me out because he was just like an eyeball and teeth.
Yeah.
Like guts inside
Ugh.
like a tube, but then the tube had actual arms and legs too. So,
Oh God. Yeah. Baxter Stockman was just something like, it was like the Fly, right? Basically, it's the Fly.
oh yeah, and like it's funny how like the toy line differed so heavily from like what you saw in the cartoon.
Yeah.
But the toy line, because they were so, I just remember thinking that as a kid, like, these are cooler than what I'm seeing on the show, and
Right.
it was, for whatever reason, oftentimes you go like, oh, it doesn't look like the show, but they were so different,
They
like
were.
General Trag with the bullet hole and the snake in his boot, and scorpion on his scorpion something like that on his arm.
Yeah.
People always say like overly sculpted, but at the same time, I mean, come on, like the fact that they put that much detail in and pretty much well painted, every
Yes.
little detail, so
Very colorful stuff. Even like, the turtles themselves. I mean, you think about they made those realistic feel like movie turtles in the main line. Those are pretty creepy too.
yeah. They did their best back in the day trying to mimic the movie.
To say the least.
I think it, like what NECA, it took them years, 30 years to perfect that. So
Yeah.
they tried. It was like movie star turtles, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, they go to Hollywood. It's like, oh my god, that's terrifying.
Yeah. No, they. Yeah. No, those are pretty scary looking. I mean, even now, like you look at them, there's like Leo with his big old grin, and
Yeah,
like Don has like all these little like warts on it. It's like
that's the thing. It doesn't look like turtle, texture. It looks like sores.
yeah.
That and they had remember the Universal Monsters? They had some fantastic sculpts with them. Like Raphael was the brain crab monster guy, and Donatello, and he was like I think it was Dracula or something like that.
Yeah.
Those were Michelangelo had the big club foot for Frankenstein, and
Yeah, they did some really cool crossovers. I mean, they still do crossovers for Turtles, but no, you're totally right. Yeah, there was like Mike as Frankenstein. Leo was like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, these are yeah, it's interesting stuff. These are cool. I don't remember seeing those as a kid, but
A lot of the times the memories of Ninja Turtles comes from like going to KB Toys. I always remember, they had like the huge walls of them, and Toys R Us, same thing, huge. I mean, even more space, but I don't remember them much at Target or Walmart for whatever reason. But yeah, that's back in the day when you go to an actual toy store and they'd have stock.
And you could go to an actual store.
Yeah.
Invisible Man Michelangelo. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And by the way, for people wondering, there were no pre-orders or DPCI numbers or things that you.
No, you didn't know you didn't know what was coming out. You just had to go to the store and see what was new.
Somebody the other day was telling me how that we should all go back to rain checks. I'm like, I just don't think life is ready for that again.
Yeah, no. So, we've talked about Batman before. Last year we did, the 30th anniversary of the original Batman film from 1989.
Yeah.
So Batman Returns came out a couple years after that. And it had a very different vibe than the original film, didn't it?
Yeah, it was very Tim Burton, very much like that Christmas fairy tale, gothic type fairy tale.
Yeah.
And it fits with what Tim Burton does, I think. Very much his own take on Batman, but are you getting at the Penguin there?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that. Unfortunately, Kenner didn't make the black blood slime spewing penguin. They just recolored the superpowers one or whatever.
Yep.
But that would have been wild.
Yeah, but the fact that they didn't make it makes you wonder, well, did they not make it because of how gruesome he was in the film?
I think that's what it was. Something to that degree where they just didn't think it was an attractive design. Like Catwoman works.
Yeah.
But they even had the penguins with the kamikaze like missiles and stuff on them too.
Yep.
But Penguin, yeah, he went, and I remember that as a kid too. Like, this one doesn't. You had Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, Keaton's Batman. They all fit. The Penguin did not fit, and
no.
Yeah, that's another one that I think it took all NECA tackling that to create those toys.
Yeah. I know Mattel updated him in I think it was like they did when they were doing 4-inch. It must have been like 2013, 2014.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, no, even they didn't go like full on like I mean, he looks good, but he doesn't look like completely like as gruesome as he does in the film.
He was a like perfectly portrayed for like that type of penguin that they were going for. But like when he bites that guy's nose, he's like, oh, my nose could be gushing blood. And the guy's like, what? And as a kid, I was like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah, that movie was a trip. I mean, I still love it though. I think it's the nostalgia though, like more than anything else. It's like I remember like as a kid, oh, this is Batman, and Catwoman and the Penguin, and
And that's it's funny, to think back, and that for a very long time that were people's main perceptions of what those characters are.
Yeah.
And to this day, people still think that. So
yeah, totally. All right, so let's go to a galaxy far, far away and talk some creepy critters.
All right.
So these films are obviously famous for all manner of different aliens. We see aliens in the Cantina. We see aliens in Jabba's palace. You see them throughout the films doing various things, interacting with main characters, serving as like monsters. Like thinking of things like Minox and, the Rancor, just things like that. There's all kinds of crazy creatures in Star Wars. And a lot of these have translated into action figures over the years.
It's funny to talk about the Minox. Like, that's such a odd idea when you think about it. Like, when that showed up, you were like, wait, okay, so that lives inside the worm's body? Like, why do they know about that?
Yeah, and the worm lives on an asteroid. Like, how does it get food?
Yeah, totally.
And not only that, but the Minox, they survive off of sucking power out of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make sense.
It doesn't have to make sense.
This was before the prequels and the sequels and everything else, so we just accepted Star Wars for what it was.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't question it. It just was. It didn't have to make sense.
I'll tell you, like with the Cantina aliens, when that first scene, when the music starts, like when they go, okay, we're gonna, they hop off the land speeder, and then you see that first alien that kind of looks like a boomerang face or whatever the heck it is. Like, that scared me as a kid.
Hem days on.
Yeah. That was freaky. I did not like that. And then you see they pan around. They see all these different monsters and creatures and stuff like that. That was awesome. Like, just looking at, I remember as a kid, like, you'd kind of like slow it down a little bit, see like what's back there, the praying mantis type thing, and
yeah, and there was all kinds of crazy things that they had, and a lot of them were Halloween costume masks that they repurposed, that they used. You had Wolfmen in there. There were a couple different ones.
Yeah.
You had like ghosts. There was like one ghost, sort of alien. And many of these have been done in action figures. So, these obviously qualify as toys because, they made the toys of them.
Oh, yeah. You mean back when Star Wars toys used to be made of Star Wars toys?
Yeah, back when they used to make Star Wars aliens into toys.
I thought it was just humans that populated this entire galaxy. I'm so confused.
You must be talking about, a different Hasbro from another timeline.
I guess, yeah.
Man, they made some great stuff, though, going back, like, late 90s, Power of the Force 2, a huge focus on the entirety of the Star Wars universe action figures, which, at that point was just the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And the expanded universe. But, the figures were basically the original trilogy. Going into the 2000s, they released so many Cantina aliens. Like, I have a diorama on my shelf of the Cantina, and, it's packed, jam-packed. But they haven't released a Cantina alien figure since 2015.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And in Black Series, haven't done one since 2013. So
I would love, if they would just say like, okay, we're going to do, 2021, we're going to have 3 or 4 out of the Cantina, and the next, and then like maybe 3 years it takes you to build them all up. That would be awesome. But
yeah.
But at least we have, a lot of people's, in the 3 3/4 inch, at least, or the vintage collection, because that's ultimately where the heart of Star Wars lies, I think, these days. Black Series is great, but 3 3/4 inch will always be classic.
Yeah, totally. So I think that brings us to our last toy line here. And this is the most obvious one. This is the one that makes sense when you're talking about spooky action figures and toys. And that's Kenner's classic Ghostbusters, the Real Ghostbusters toy line.
Never heard of it. What are you talking about? When you like in talking about like what's the household look like for Halloween, ever since I was a little kid, Ghostbusters takes over Halloween. All like hands down, every single time. So, it's It's the most reminiscent. I don't know why, but it's just. I think it is the toys and the fun, spooky nature of it, without it being like,
Yeah.
Not for kids. We'll say, you know what I mean. They were just fun, and it's fun to be scared, but know that it's not going to hurt you.
Exactly.
So, I think that's what Kenner Ghostbuster toys did the best, was tell kids like it's you're a Ghostbuster, you got to be brave, and boom, you got to deal with Granny Gross and Terror Trash and the toilet.
Fearsome plush.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the best toy lines that's ever been made. The playability was insane. I mean, you're talking about the action figures, but also the role play that was created was just really interactive, and they did a really good job fleshing out the figures and the action figures. A lot of them weren't actually from the show, though, were they?
No, I think you had the Ghostbusters, you had some semblance of Janine and Louis Tully, but I recently did a video on Highway Haunter, the Volkswagen that turns into the Bug. There's some aspects with like Murray the Mantis. The actual Volkswagen actually appeared in like the first Sam Hain episode, not necessarily as a ghost, but it's kind of cool to see that when sometimes the ghost would pop up, but for the most part, no, not like Boogeyman. Mattel did an amazing Sam Hain like later on. That fits really well with like the Ghostbuster toys from the Kenner days and stuff, but no, they never went that route. I mean, they even had like the monsters, like Universal Monsters type thing.
Yeah.
And, I remember that was amazing, and we've definitely talked about it before. It's like I just remember that as a kid going, well, where is Boogeyman? Or
Terrifying.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like those are the ones that you really wanted. And I feel like, modern day stuff, I'm just itching to get those old characters as new types of toys.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing like if like a NECA or some sort of company, just like what they're doing with TMNT, if some company came in and really did justice to the Real Ghostbusters toy line, I think there would be a huge market for it.
Yeah, and like I don't mind, Hasbro doing like the retro stuff, bringing back the old Kenners. They are significantly different from the old stuff. But that's not necessarily like it's fun, but I want to see them do new stuff that could fit with like Kenner. I feel like that would be really cool. Like kind of like what NECA did with the Kenner aliens. They did like the Neomorph and a Berserker Predator, and it fits with the old stuff, and that was great. I just want more Ghostbuster stuff.
Yeah, I know, I do too. It's just. I think Hasbro is doing some pretty cool stuff, but I mean, it's not what Kenner did. Kenner just went all out with, low cost figures of all shapes and sizes, all kinds of crazy ghosts. They had wild imaginations. I'd love to see something like that again. I don't know if we ever will, but I'd love to see something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I would love to see it. I've talked about this like so many times with other people. It's like Ghostbusters is a very niche market. There are huge fans for it. I would be over the hills, for that, but it's not for everybody. And I think in this day and age, unless you have a movie or a TV show or, something that can correlate with it, it'll go over kids' heads. There's too much in so many ways. I look at it, I go, there's not much explanation, but I feel like there may be too much explanation as to what it is to really get kids into it again, unfortunately.
Yeah, it could very well be. But, they did an awesome job with the toys. There was plenty of ectoplasm to be had. And, just great stuff all around. Like you said, so many different kinds of villain ghost characters that they went all out on. Just looking at pictures here, remembering some of these characters.
I'll actually have a video this week. It's a figure I never had. I finally got one. The Sludge Bucket Ghost. Never had one as a kid. Found someone that was getting rid of a bunch of Ghostbusters, and that was the only one that he had that I didn't have. And it's amazing. You squeeze the tail, it blows a big slime bubble. If you
wow.
put it's great. But
I never had this
it's
either.
yeah, it's funny. Going back now and going like I never saw that one. I never saw that one. And it is fun to go back and complete the collection. There's still
Yeah.
as big a Ghostbusters fan as I am. There's a few that I still have yet to get, but they're pricey. They get up there, especially for those more obscure like the goblins or whatever they were called. They were like towards the end of the line kind of thing, and some were kind of like European as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, and all kinds of stuff. Do you know what the name of the purple one was that made the sparks? Or we had like the ripcord?
pull speed ahead ghost.
Pull speed. Man, the names of these are just great.
And mine still sparks, and I showed it to the little one the other day, and it was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had one of these too. I remember like doing the sparks, and I was like kind of freaking out. I was like telling my parents like, this can't be right? It's not supposed to do this, is it? It's like, yeah, no way would a toy like do that today. I mean, you'd start a fire or something, and
right,
like burn down a forest.
Sorry about that. It was caused by the pull speed ahead ghost. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and I think some of the classic aliens, some of the classic ghosts that they had were, I think you touched on them, but just like the classic, there was like a Dracula, there was like a mummy.
Oh yeah.
Just like your normal monsters. And I know we've touched on they had a Quasimodo too.
Oh, the poor Quasimodo. God dang, he was roped into that. It's so unfortunate because you look at him, and you're like, what happened, man?
Yeah, he's
like
not a ghost. He's just this poor guy.
You feel so bad for him because when he does his little thing, like it looks like he's screaming, like I'm not like help me. It's like it always reminded me of like the Ghostbuster episodes where the ghosts weren't bad. They were like misunderstood at the end. You realize, oh, they were just trying to help or something like that. That's the relationship to the show for me. Like he's that ghost.
Oh man, so many great things in this toy line. I mean, it's I had a bunch of them growing up. I had the vehicles, the role play, all that. Like sadly, most of it is just gone. I don't know where it's just gone.
It's because we played with them. We played with them as a kid. You know what I mean? Like those were the ones. If I like to joke around and say, if your toys are just beat to all holy heck, yeah, you had some good times with them.
Yeah, you did what you were supposed to do with them. You played with them and you enjoyed them and you made memories with them. And, even though the toys might be gone, the memories persist. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, those are very special to have.
Yeah. And you're not supposed to be, a weirdo in your 30s talking about them to this day. That's your problem.
Who does that? That's creepy. That's weird. Maybe that's even scarier than any of these toy lines that we've talked about today.
Right? That's a perfect idea for a Halloween podcast right there.
Absolutely. So, ToyShiz, what do you got going on currently?
Currently, again, I've been enjoying the month of October, all the spooky toys and everything. I had a look at a lot of old stuff. I still have a few more. It's not Halloween just yet, but had a lot of new toys as well. A lot dealing with spooky and horror nature, which has been great. But now stay tuned. I got lots more stuff to talk about. A lot of old toys coming up too. A lot of kind of completing collections and things like that. So, and the holidays are coming up, and that's some of my favorite times. That's a lot of memories and reminiscing going on. Yeah. So expect a lot of that.
Expect a lot of that. Let's try and touch base, between now and then. Maybe talk some of our favorite Christmas toys.
Oh, we should do like what was like the last minute toy or the one that you never thought you were going to get and finally you get it on Christmas Day, because I got some stories for that.
I do too. Yeah, that's a good episode idea right there. I'll write that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, good stuff. I'll put links down in the show notes. And where else can our listeners go to look you up online?
You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all of it, just at ToyShiz, ToyShiz. And if you ever have any questions or anything else, always feel free to private message me, email me, toyshiz@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you're a bona fide toy expert. You know so much about all of this stuff, and
No,
it's
don't say that. No, I feel bad. No. It's like, what's my life? What is no? I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. No, and
I love this stuff. So
yeah, that's one of the reasons I love having you on the show, because you know your stuff, and we have these memories about all these toys, and we always have a blast. So I appreciate it.
Of course, and anytime you want to do this, I always love coming on and talking with you. Just in like what we talk every once in a while, anyways. Yeah, you hear about this? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So no, your channel and what you do, and always talking about especially how we started talking. I think originally with Jurassic Park and Star Wars. You got a fantastic show, so always love talking with you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, as always, it's been a pleasure, and can't wait to do it again.
For sure. Thank you, and thanks to everybody who listened and made it this far.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And that's a wrap for this episode. Victoria's Cantina began on YouTube, and you can find plenty of toy content on the Victoria's Cantina YouTube channel. We are also on Instagram, constantly showcasing toy photography at Victoria's Cantina, as well as Facebook at Victoria's Cantina, and on Twitter, ranting and raving about toys and other nonsense at Vic's Cantina. For fun and random toy clips, follow us on TikTok at Victoria's Cantina. Got a question or something you'd like to share with us? Drop us a line in the fax machine. You can email victoriascantina@yahoo.com. If you are so inclined and wish to drop a coin in the tip jar, we are on Patreon, where you can gain greater access to the channel while helping to keep the content rolling. For VC branded merchandise such as t-shirts, ball caps, mugs, and other fun stuff, visit us on Teespring and TeePublic. Links to all of these magical places can be found in the show notes. Do you got a minute or two? If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating and drop a brief review explaining why you enjoy the show. As always, I'm Victoria, and no matter where you're listening out in the galaxy, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to the Cantina Chatter Podcast.